This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
Being a marketer's no sweat. You just have to manage dozens of channels, launch hundreds of campaigns, score thousands of leads, and okay, fine, it's a lot of sweat. Unless you have HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools to help you do all that and more. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to Post-Match Raw with a different voice for a change, bringing you in because Trev's still suffering from that storm. Still got no internet, so I said I'd sit in. And I'm so glad I picked this game to sit in for. I'm Jim Boardman, and I'm glad to say I've got Dave Hendrick and Karl Matchett with me today, and we're looking back on Liverpool 2, Fulham 2, as an uneventful game as you can imagine, or maybe not. Also a couple of other 3 p.m. fixtures taking place at the same time, if you could tear yourself away, really, from the Liverpool game. It's funnily enough, it was sort of a year and a week ago that we played Fulham at home. It was a game that ended 4-3, Liverpool twice going in the lead and twice throwing the lead away. It was 3-2 to Fulham with 3 minutes left, I think, at the time, and Liverpool won 4-3. And that was kind of how the season panned out under Klopp, wasn't it? So Slot's come in, teaching us this new way of, getting better at getting leads and keeping leads and not being open. And so you think, well, that kind of game is going to be a thing of the past. Yeah, well, we'll have a look at that game, won't we? The two teams, I would say, yeah, as usual, Liverpool team, you could almost pick it, given the players available, in my view. Fulham, I'll let these two guys explain more about Fulham, other than I see those names that are brought for you to me in the past, like Pereira and Wilson and Traore amongst the squad. So what kind of game was it going to be? Well, it did end 2-2, as you probably know by now. Dave, the Liverpool team, I've just said it kind of picks itself. There was a little bit more strength on the bench in terms of forward players. I mean, if you look at it, I think there's 4 players started who've played up front for us and 4 players on the bench who've played up front for us. But at least there's a bit of strength coming through at the front end of things, but I'm not so sure about the back. But yeah, was that the side you'd have expected?
Yeah, I think the only question really was whether he'd go with Darwin through the middle and then one of Gakpo or Diaz, or he'd play Diaz through the middle and go with Gakpo on the left. And I think he went with the right setup. I think Diaz through the middle because Darwin has been poor in each of his last 3 starts, so it made sense. And it is a strong team. When you look at that on paper, there's obviously Joe Gomez is in for Konate, so we know that position can improve itself. The only position you'd really be looking at and saying that's a weak link is the one that turned out to be a weak link today, and we'll talk about that when we get into the game. And then, like you mentioned, the bench is really strong, but it's really strong from an attacking point of view. It's not bad from a midfield point of view, but it is weak from a defensive point of view with Jarrell Quansah, the only defensive player on there, because unfortunately for us, that's where our injuries are concentrated now. But getting Jota back, getting Chiesa back, that's a big boost coming into the Christmas period. if we get Ibu and Costas and Bradley back now in the next couple of weeks, and obviously Alexis will come back, having missed today and the last game through suspensions, all of a sudden the squad does start to look really strong, with the exception of one glaring position, and then we'd all like that defensive midfielder that we've been crying out for since Fabinho's legs went. But, you know, it is a strong team, and we've shown how strong we are. We're top of the league.
And still top of the league as well, despite anything else that went on today. Carl, you anything else to add to that Liverpool team? And your thoughts on the Fulham side, which, as I've just mentioned, there's a few threatening sounding players in there, but maybe I've not mentioned all of the threatening players.
Yeah, I mean, the Fulham side has been pretty settled this year for the most part. Said on Scouted with Guy during the week, the one area of weakness you would look at by what they could put out would be at centre-back, because there's basically their third and fourth choice defenders who are going to be playing today because of suspensions and injuries. So that would have been the one we would have really liked to have got at early and see how they played alongside each other and how they could line up and that sort of thing. I mean, obviously never really got the chance to do that at full strength. So a bit of a disappointment from that regard, but the rest of it, you kind of could have picked, I would say, 7, and then the 8th one was a bit of a gamble, whether it would be Traore starting or Smith Rowe, or obviously in the case that it was in the end, Pereira and Wilson both in the side.
And of course, the other part of the lineup, of course, on a match day is the officials. And I was doing a pod with Jay, Scouts of Tommy's, and we looked who the officials were just as we were recording, and we spotted Tony Harrington. And I thought, yeah, don't really know much about him. Name doesn't jump out at me. Maybe he's a new guy. Maybe he'll be good. In the week that, of course, another referee who perhaps wasn't always fair to Liverpool, given the contents of a video we saw of him, in the week he got sacked, we get this new guy, Tony Harrington. VAR, Stuart Atwell, now that is a name that we recognise. I believe he's another one of the Greater Manchester guys. Maybe I'm misremembering that. But of course, nice new name for a referee. Perhaps shouldn't really need to talk about him much in this game, will we? Yeah, let's see. The game actually gets off quicker than my stream does. It being a 3 p.m. Saturday kickoff, I'm sure everyone's in this sort of kind of boat, at least in these shows. It's not that easy to watch a 3 p.m. kickoff unless you're in. And I basically got some pictures just at the point where they were debating whether or not Diop should have a red card or not. And I didn't actually see the foul. None of the replays worked. And it was only a yellow. But the commentary team I had were quite outraged by that. So assuming either of you two got to see it, let's just get that out of the way first. Dave, do you reckon was it a yellow card?
It looked to me like a red. I have to say, it looked to me like a red. I didn't see it live either. I've seen a replay of it. It looks to me like a red. So yeah, that was the impression I got, and I heard some of the talk at halftime. Didn't see it because I was doing other things, but I heard it, people saying that as well. And but of course, there was more incidents to talk about at halftime. You as well, Carl. Any thoughts?
I'll offer the counter argument here. Not necessarily because I really think it shouldn't have been or it must have been a red card or anything like that. But I would say that once it went to VAR, and obviously you get them slowing it down and looking at it 400 times, or maybe not at all, depending on who it is. But I think Diop's outstretched boot, obviously, which takes out Gomez's knee, I think it's just finished the arc of going out when they contact. I think it's just starting to come back down again. I think maybe that's the only thing I can think of where it's not a high dangerous collision kind of thing, and like he's coming out of the challenge as such. It's the only real thing I can offer.
Well tried. I mean, I'm sure they'll come up with more excuses if this is one of those matches that they choose to explain to us. And of course, sometimes I think with VAR being where it is, maybe the sensible thing, the way it works at the moment, is that you give a yellow and then let VAR decide if it's a red. So I'm sure that's the kind of approach the referee will take throughout the game. We'll find out. It was a good few minutes before the game really got going after that, before I think there was treatment needed. And I think at this point, Liverpool were just trying to get the ball around, passing around, and it was looking, maybe promising early days. We were seeing the sort of Trent crossfield passes to Gakpo. In fact, after 6 minutes, Diaz had a turn, tried an overhead kick. It was just over. And I do wonder when I was watching the replay whether maybe he could have just stayed facing the goal and got a header. But, I'm being critical. And seconds later, Diaz was booked. So we've already got 2 cards 6 minutes in. There was another chance. I would say Jones breaks free, but then he was tackled in the box. And I think that was a bit of a hallmark for Fulham today. I think they were good at blocking us in the box and stopping us from having attacks. And of course, every time one of our attacks falls down, so comes a break from Fulham. But Ali in the goal gathered after 8 minutes. After 8 minutes, there was also another booking. Pereira was booked. He just clipped Gravenberch's heels as Gravenberch was breaking. And you'd think after this point now, sort of 8 minutes gone, it felt more like Liverpool's game than theirs. You just have to watch out. Obviously, they're a team that can score. But of course, 10 minutes, Fulham on the break, simple cross, simple finish. Iwobi finds Robinson. He crosses to Pereira, who just hits it in. Maybe a bit of a fortunate goal in some ways in that he sort of deflected off Robo, which sort of wrong-footed the keeper a little bit. But really, I mean, I think at that point, you're not asking questions about whether Robo could have done something different. At that point, it should have already been done. Karl, any thoughts on that goal? Was it avoidable, or was it an example of Fulham's quality going forward?
I have a lot of thoughts on the goal, and they're completely avoidable. I'm also going to double back, if you don't mind, and say that. Yeah. I realise now I said Diop took out Gomez's knee. Obviously, I meant Robertson. Yeah, I was thinking head there. More on that later as well. The one on Gravenberch, I thought was far more of a red card. I don't know if you got to see it live or anything, but Pereira, I mean, I know you say he clips his heels. That's probably what he's trying to do. He doesn't, though. He studs him right down the back of the calf, right down the Achilles. It's a straight red. Like, there's just no doubt for me about that. That's way more of a red card than the Diop one, where at least he's like, well, it doesn't matter about the Diop one. I just think this one's a much, much bigger red card. On the goal itself, I mean, we're very, very passive on stopping the ball being moved about on that left-hand side, or on Fulham's left-hand side, our right-hand side. We were slow to sort of even move towards, there was no closing down, but move towards the player in 2 successive passes, an overload, quick overlap. It's a decent cross, but even like then, Robertson's lost him already. Then he sort of gets himself in a muddle as to where he's going to block it. Like, it's pretty much a double mistake there from Robertson after poor work from at least 2 players beforehand on the other side of the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see the replay of the Gravenberch one, and I was thinking more at the time it was a yellow. That, I mean, it was also the way it sort of broke down what we were doing as well, which it wasn't a red, but yeah, I hadn't seen that he'd done that. And again, another mark against the ref, another question mark against the ref, who, as I've said, I thought before the game would be a decent one. I'll carry on with what happened next, and then I'll get Dave's thoughts on that and on what happens in about 6 minutes' time from here. Liverpool are obviously behind again, and it's not something that's happened too often this season, but you're thinking, well, okay, they had a lot of experience of that last season, self-inflicted most of the time. So let's see how we can deal with this. I mean, Fulham obviously starting the time wasting early, but also Fulham aren't the kind of side that will just time waste. They will still look for goals. But again, we were seeing strangeness from the ref. 13 minutes. I've got, is it, may get his name pronounced wrong here, Berger, is it? Fouling Gakpo, and it just took an age for the referee to blow for a free. And I didn't even see a replay of that. I think they just carried on playing. And again, Fulham not afraid to attack, which, if Liverpool are on the metal, that can be a good thing. Let them come at us, let them attack, let's get them on the break. But I think the sort of way we were playing today, maybe less of a tool for us. And we were finding Ali was doing the sweeping quite a bit as well. It was, again, just a little bit of a moment with Ali where he sort of found Trent, who was under pressure, and Fulham get the ball back, and we're thinking this is getting recycled. And at this point, 15 minutes gone, there's still plenty of time in the game, surely, for Liverpool to turn this back around. And then it all changed massively. That referee, who I said maybe did the right thing in going for yellow if in doubt, with the foul early on, let VAR have a look and decide. I know VAR doesn't like to overturn things, but, maybe that's the best way. I think there's more chance of him overturning a yellow and turning it into a red than the other way around. Very unheard of. So this time he didn't. There was a free kick for Fulham. Next thing you know, Andy Robertson is being sent off. I mean, it was a free kick that he was it was a dangerous one. It was a moment from Robertson. I mean, I'll like to hear both of your takes on this, but for me, Robertson's been sort of pushing the boundaries a little bit in recent games. He's given penalties away and got away with giving penalties away. But looking at the replay, I'm not so sure it was a red. It took a while for it to be decided by VAR. First of all, they took far too long to decide whether or not Wilson was offside. And then maybe the second the second part of the decision is really, was it a last man situation? Was it a player in whatever the correct terminology is? And I think they've got to be facing towards goal, haven't they? For it to be classed as a so-called professional foul. That bit didn't take very long at all by the looks of it. From assuming we're getting the same pictures that they're sort of looking at in the same order, we saw the offside decision, and then very quickly we got told it was going to stand and Robbo had to go off. I'll let you go first on this, Dave. I mean, there was also as I said, the goal for Fulham. Happy to have your views on that. But I think this feels like the bigger talking point of the first half by a long way.
This episode is brought to you by Disney Plus. Game on, because ESPN Plus content is available on Disney Plus. You can watch your favorites from Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus together like never before. With ESPN Plus, unwrap a full day of NBA action on Christmas Day. Tip off the festivities with the Spurs and Knicks, followed by the Mavs and Timberwolves. Then a clash between the Lakers and Warriors, followed by the 76ers and Celtics. And finally, the Nuggets face off against the Suns, all streaming December 25th. Then with Hulu, watch the terrifying sci-fi thriller Alien Romulus, where a group of young space colonizers come face-to-face with the ultimate horror. And on Disney Plus, follow the adventures of 4 kids across the galaxy as they meet unlikely allies and enemies in Star Wars Skeleton Crew, starring Jude Law. All of these and more now streaming and available with a bundle subscription. Visit DisneyPlus.com for details. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Well, the thing is, in this half, and what are we, halfway through the half?
Not even that, 16 minutes.
16 minutes. There is, I think, a clear red card on Diok. I think the other one, the studs down Gravenberg, I think that's a clear red card as well. I don't have an issue with this red card, kind of. I have an issue with Andy Robertson because he has been, we've all danced around this for far too fucking long. Andy Robertson has been somewhere between poor and crap every single week for 2.5 years now. This goes back to the back half of the 21-22 season when his form dipped. He was dreadful in 22-23, and we all looked at it and went, you know what? Everybody was dreadful, so maybe he bounces back. He was shit last year as well, and he's been crap this year. And it's been a long time since Andy Robertson was actually the best left back at this club. Andy Robertson should have been moved on in the summer. He should have been moved on the previous summer. He's no longer fit to be starting for this team. He just isn't. He's a liability. And we've seen it time and time again in recent weeks.
I've written the exact same word down, liability, about Robbo as well.
100%. A half-fit Bukayo Saka cooked him within an inch of his life. The penalty against Southampton is one of the most Now, look, we all know it wasn't a penalty because it was outside the box. The fact that he gave the referee the decision is one of the most brainless things I've ever seen. Either go out and meet the fella or don't make the challenge. Just try and shepherd him down the line or something. The penalty against Real Madrid was absolutely brainless as well. And now we've got this shit today. The goal is entirely his fault. That is bread and butter stuff for a left back defending his back post. Why he lets that ball go, I've no idea. He has to know there's a player behind him. He has to know that Pereira's there, and he doesn't deal with it. It's atrocious. And then this is worse. I mean, the first touch is absolutely god-awful. This is a guy who's been playing for this club now this is season number 8, I believe. And he still can't use his right foot for anything other than standing on it. Like, that is an abysmal first touch. It's not like Wilson is right up his arse and he's taking that touch under duress. He's got time and space. That's a simple first touch to take, and he makes a hames of it. Now, I do take slight umbrage with this denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. Harry Wilson boots the ball to his teammate. Harry Wilson is not going to score from there. And I saw Dale Johnson say that the denial of a goal-scoring opportunity is with the individual player, not the team. So even though it goes to Jimenez, I think it is, who then lifts it over Ali and Virgil clears it, even though they got a goal-scoring opportunity out of it, Harry Wilson did not. But the reason Harry Wilson didn't get one is because he booted the ball away. Then Robbo clatters him. So I don't agree that he's denied a goal-scoring opportunity to Wilson, but I don't have an issue with the red card because it is a last-man challenge, so whatever. For the record, though, Stuart Atwell is from Nuneaton, which is or more Birmingham than Manchester. And this fella, Tony Hallington, I'm afraid, as you know, Jim, I am the local investigative journalist here on AnfieldIndex.com. And Tony Hallington is from the Teesside area. And a couple of quick phone calls have given me information that suggests he's actually Guy Drinkle's cousin. So we're going to be blaming Guy Drinkle officially for Tony Harrington's performance today, which have been shambolic to this point. The two fouls by the Fulham boys, give the red and let VAR overturn them, but they were red cards. This is a red card, fair enough, but I don't like the logic behind it. I don't like the idea that this is denial of a goal-scoring opportunity because Harry Wilson's not scoring from there.
Yeah, and I think, referees, I remember before VAR, you'd hear referees talking about how you give yourself thinking time. Just take a couple of, take a couple of breaths, just take a couple of steps and then decide what you're going to do. Just give yourself that thinking time. To me, it just felt like he's not giving himself that thinking time. And with VAR, you've kind of got the bonus of thinking time, if they can think, down in Stockley Park, where they can have a bit more of a considered look at it. And again, I think how a referee could be 100% sure that was a red, even if the replay showed it, and, I'm sure there'll be a lot of debate over whether or not it was a red once we had the beauty of VAR, but I just think, in situations like this, if you're in any slight doubt, you've got the VAR there, by all means, just give them a message as well and say, I don't think that was a red, but I'm not totally sure. And they'll have a proper look for you. The mic's there. We don't hear any of that. And I'm sure they're saying stuff like this all the time. Maybe it was inexperience. Maybe it was the occasion. I mean, fair play to him doing it on 16 minutes as well, because if there's ever a time in a game when you don't get reds for stuff like that, it's early on. And he wasn't afraid to do that. Anything for you to add to that, Karl? I mean, obviously, I think this is maybe the biggest talking point of the game, because it certainly set the scene for what was left of the match.
I mean, I mostly agree with what Dave said. It wasn't a goal-scoring opportunity for Wilson, because like his own teammate is getting there before him for starters, so he's simply not taking a shot from that regard. But if the rule book sort of said Andy Robertson's getting a red card for being absolutely dreadful, I would have no issue with that. Like, it deserved a red card for how bad it was, almost. I would almost even say, like, for the tackle, that's a red card, because again, he's not getting the ball. Like, it's probably not a dangerous one or anything like that, but it's terrible. It's rubbish all around. There's a lack of awareness. The touch is on his left foot and it's still bad. He had an absolute horror 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I think it's going to get into a stage now where any analyst worth the salt will be looking at Liverpool games, and they'll be speaking to the forwards and saying, look at these video of Andy Robertson. Look how he deals with situations. Look how easy it is to win.
Look how scared he is to use his right foot.
Yeah.
Like, that ball's coming across his body. Use your right foot. Even if you want to use the inside of your right thigh to just kill that ball at your feet, and then you can boot it clear or whatever, knock it back to the goalkeeper, bundle it anywhere. But why he tries to control that ball with his left foot, with the way it's coming across his body, I just don't understand that. Just get your feet right. And you can take that ball down on your midriff. Like, that. There's no reason at all for him to try and take that ball on his left foot. He refuses to use his right foot.
The thing is, even like, I know you're saying like his form has been rubbish for 2 years, but probably even 2 seasons ago, maybe even like partly through last year, he's probably able to have an extra 1 or 2 steps in his run and completely turn his body in field and control it forwards, if you know what I mean. So it's still going back towards the way it came.
Which is what he's always done, isn't it? He's always kind of come around, changed his own angle. Then he's touching it out into his own path to go and run onto it. But
you can't do that now. He's been done so many times in behind by like the most basic movement or run in this season. It's a little bit painful to watch at times.
Yeah, even James Milner wasn't like this when he was coming towards the end of his days at Anfield. Well, maybe he was. Let's not get anyone started on James Milner, because that never goes down too well, does it? Of course, Liverpool now down to 10 men and a free kick to face 10 yards or so outside the box. And yeah, Wilson just sent it over, really, basically. Wasn't the best of free kicks. But of course, upper hand now for Fulham, 1-0 up, one man up, well, 2 if you count the ref. So I'm at this point, I'm sure we're all thinking, what's he going to do now? Slot, is he going to change things around? Is he going to bring someone on? I mean, it's the usual sort of default thing, isn't it? You lose a defender, so you sacrifice a midfielder or an attacker and you bring another defender on. Or, if you've got someone who's versatile in your ranks, maybe you reshuffle. At this point in time, I'm not sure. I was thinking, who is the versatile person that we could reshuffle? I mean, the days of having Fabinho in midfield aren't there anymore. I'm not sure any of our strikers are really sort of wing backs that we could use, and certainly I didn't sort of picture the likes of Jones or Szoboszlai playing at centre back. But the one that did come into that, it took a little bit of time, and I think this says a lot about Slot, that he tried a couple of things before he settled on what he was going to settle with for most of maybe the next hour of the game, I would say. So, at this point, I'm trying to work out who's playing where. There was times when it looked like Van Dijk was almost playing at left back, was if we had a 3 at the back, and Van Dijk being the leftmost centre back was kind of covering the left-hand side. But he probably wasn't. I think at that point he was expecting someone else to be covering the left-hand side, and they just weren't. So it took a while, but I think it said a lot about Slot that he managed this situation. And I know one thing that has been picked up about Slot since he came Liverpool manager is his ability to manage the game within the game, during the game. The changes he can make at half-time quite often stand out. But even during the game, within a half, the first or the second, he can see things moving the wrong way and he can do something about it. And the fact is, it's not just knowing what to do, it's getting that message across to your players, and somehow he's managed to get it across to them in as simple a way as possible, because without being horrible to footballers, they don't need a long, complicated explanation on what to do. They just need it done in a few words, and he seems to have found that ability to do that with them. So there were no subs straight away, no subs for a while. I was just thinking, after 22 minutes, we're only halfway through the half and so much had happened. There was a booking for Diaz, a booking for someone fouling Diaz, and it was Robertson. And I was thinking, the similar sounding name to our left back, maybe he'll not last the whole game just on a yellow, because this ref was card happy, not just for us, but for them as well, or so it seemed. But obviously, there was only one colour he was going to bring out for Liverpool. The red was only going to come out for Liverpool. As this half was going on, Anfield was starting to become more and more of a cauldron, I would say. There's one way to get Anfield shouting and screaming and being angry and being, up for the Reds, and supporting the side, and that's having a referee that winds everybody up, and that is obviously what's happening today. 26 minutes, I'm wondering, are we playing three at the back with Trent as one of the three? But no. By this point, Gomez was taking the throws, and I realised that this was the point where Gravenberch had moved into centre-back. Gomez was left-back, which he's a natural at that position, although, he's been great at centre-back. I think he's maybe the victim of being a jack of all trades and the master of none, but he's certainly good enough at left-back. And I would say, if Ibu comes back, that maybe he's a shout to be, certainly I think Dave would, he's a shout to be the first choice left-back until we get somebody else back fit. That half just carried on in much the same vein. There were fouls and no cards for them. We had corners. Trent, I don't think, had the best of his games today. He was taking corners and they were just not getting anywhere. 35 minutes, there was a Trent corner which just missed everyone, and then led to a Fulham break, but Ali swept up. More time wasting from Fulham. Gravenberch penalised for a Fulham free kick. At that point, he looked like Gravenberch was playing more in midfield than centre-back. Maybe he'd forgotten himself. There was lots of sort of efforts from Liverpool. There was a long pass towards Salah from Szoboszlai, and my stream died. When it came back, Liverpool had a throw, so I'm sure that was good. A lot of fouls from them, but not, no bookings, nothing much happening. 39 minutes I've written down, Slot fuming with officials. And that was because it was one of those where you've got a free kick and you start the ball going, and then he calls you back to take the free kick again from 1 yard further back than where you took it from or something. And maybe that was Slot's sort of first point of boiling with the officials, and he was on that traffic warden's book, and he was ready to look out to have more action with him later. It was close on 40 minutes. Szoboszlai finding Diaz. A lot of good balls from Dom today. It was just Salah who found Dom, actually. A little floated ball into the path of Diaz, and it wasn't far over. And again, another close moment a minute later, Gakpo and Gomez combining. But it was just a bit too fast for Joe, the 1-2, so it went out. And at this point, you could see there was plenty to be hopeful for. We're going to get to half-time. Chance for the managers to really have a talk to the players. You think this side's fizzling out, this half's fizzling out. Then we get told we've got 6 minutes of added time. Trent takes a corner and this one goes straight out, so it ends up being a goal kick. And again, this sort of summed up, I don't think, we focused on Robbo, but he wasn't the only fullback who was having an off day today, is the way I'd put it. Jones finds Salah, and again, my stream breaks up. It looked like Salah was about to take an amazing shot. By the time it came back, he'd actually missed his shot. That's on 46. And again, Liverpool trying the long ball at times, the direct passes, not quite working out. Fulham on the break. Wilson hits well over, just coming up to the end of that half. And then half-time arrived, and it was time for Slot to go and have a word with the players. Karl, your thoughts on the rest of that half? I've whizzed through it there, really, but it feels like there's a lot of stuff happening, but not a lot of stuff happening. There were chances, but they're not major chances. But Liverpool maybe spent a bit of the time, really, I would say, just trying to get themselves settled down into what kind of formation are we playing, who's doing what, and who's covering for the spaces.
So I will start by suggesting I think you're being extremely generous to us, a certain right back with of him there. I thought he was very, very nearly as bad as Robertson, but on the pitch for more. I'll let Dave go any further than that, but I thought he had an absolute shocker. Most of the rest of the players I thought did well, or did well for the circumstance or the context of the game or whatever, but the two fullbacks were god awful. Trent, aside from the set pieces that you mentioned, which were really, really poor, I mean, like, we're down to 10 men. First and foremost, what you want is diligent passing, diligence on the ball. Make sure that anything that you're doing is going to find a teammate and not give everybody else extra running. And I think for the first 5 or 6 minutes, it was wayward. I'm going to leave it at that. I was like yourself. I was obviously trying to keep track of who was going where, and I think there were like 3 changes basically, because Gravenberch, first of all, I think went as the. I don't want to get Dave too excited here, but basically, I think Gravenberch was ideally thought to be playing a sort of sweeper role there. You'd be on the ball really, really deep in space, but also move forward into midfield. I think that was the base idea there, and that's why Van Dijk was out on the left-hand side. Probably around the time that we ended up with Van Dijk covering across at right back and Cody Gakpo as our only centre-back, I think that's probably where it changed, and we went to Gomez left side. And obviously there's a bit of a switch around there to get Van Dijk in the middle, and then later on it went to the back 4 that we ended up with for most of the next hour, probably something like that. But I do think initially we were trying to get Gravenberch on the ball in the deepest areas possible, and he was basically middle of that back 3. And like you say, I think that I quite liked that. I quite not necessarily obviously the muddled nature of it, and the fact that we clearly haven't really done any kind of preparation as to how we're going to approach this in a different setup. But the fact that it wasn't just immediately, we lost a defender, let's bring a defender on. That probably being a goal down shaped some of that decision making, but it wasn't just about, well, let's just replace one and then sort of settle our way into the team. There was quite a lot of attempt and creativity and trying to find our way with the players that were there, see if other ways to get back in possession and control of the territory where the game was played, and that. And I quite enjoyed seeing that kind of struggle, if you like, from the coach and staff, because they've not had like loads of different scenarios this season to go up against, where I know the substitutions and that in game have been good, or the messages at half time have been good, but real adversity like this we've not really had, have we? So it was interesting from just a general football perspective to see that as well. And I think, if not top marks, then quite good marks for the coach and staff for this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's one that they'll look back on and laugh in the future, how much fun they had in that half. But, I mean, the other side to that, Dave, of course, is that if he was going to make a change and bring a defender on, it was the defender he doesn't seem to have a lot of trust in. He trusts him about as much as he trusts Endo, I would say, which isn't a great deal. So there was that aspect to it. And I think the other side to it, the other side to the coin maybe is if you're going to take someone off who's not a defender, who you're going to take off, because really it was hard to fault anyone outside of, the fullbacks.
Trent would have been the only one, wouldn't he? Because you can't take Virgil off. You're not going to take Gomez off because he's playing well. The 3 midfield lads were all playing really well and putting in big shifts. And the 3 forward players all looked dangerous. Like the Gravenberch thing was a really interesting little tactical thing from Arna, where Virgil is basically playing as a lone centre-back. Gomez is playing on the left as the left-back, but he's getting forward and inverting into midfield. And Gravenberch is kind of drifting between midfield and defence, looking for space to get on the ball and, trying to get us playing from the back. But the flip side of it is, he's also having to do a lot of defensive covering, because the fella playing at right back is wandering into midfield, wandering around the place, and rarely doing much more than, a swift jog out of possession. Trent wound me up something shocking today. On this podcast for the last, not this season, the 2 previous seasons, the one thing we highlighted over and over again with Trent, as good as he was on the ball, the defensive effort was really poor. Really, really poor. And one of my biggest criticisms of Jurgen Klopp over the last 2 years was how much he pandered to Trent. Arne Slot hasn't pandered to him this season. And when we get to the Trent substitution, Jim, come back to me.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Experience holiday cheer at Tanger Outlets with savings up to 70% off your favorite brands. From fragrances to accessories and the latest styles, discover the best gifts for everyone on your list. Save big at Nike Factory Store, Michael Kors, Under Armour, Coach, Polo Ralph Lauren, Kate Spade New York, and so many more. Unwrap the best at Tanger Outlets. Hundreds of brands, endless gifting options. Plan your trip at Tanger.com.